They raised a glass to 20 years of their family's control, then told my husband to divorce me. I smiled, tapped the mic, and revealed a number that made the room stop breathing. 41 million. By dessert, the cameras were rolling, the lawyers were watching, and every secret they'd hidden about our marriage was displayed on my screen. The champagne flutes trembled in their manicured hands as I began reading the first email aloud. 6 years of manipulation, documented. 6 years of financial abuse, recorded. And now, 600 guests would witness their downfall. My name is Eva Hartley, and I learned early in my marriage that love alone doesn't protect you from the people who claim to care about you most. The morning Derek proposed 6 years ago, his mother Marjorie called me at 5:45. Welcome to the family, she'd said, her voice honey-smooth through the phone. We Sloanes have certain standards to maintain. I'm sure you understand. I should have recognized the warning then, but I was 34 and foolishly in love with her son. Our house in Maple Grove sat pristine among the suburban sprawl near Lake Mendota, its mortgage payments meticulously tracked in Marjorie's leather-bound ledger. She'd insisted on reviewing our finances quarterly, for tax purposes. She claimed Derek, a financial specialist at Arden Ridge Advisors, never questioned why his mother needed our bank statements. I did, but learned quickly that questions were interpreted as defiance. You're not from money, dear, Marjorie would remind me during Sunday dinners, sliding documents across her mahogany table. These are simply family protocols. Sign here. Power of attorney forms, joint account authorizations, investment proxies, always presented between the soup course and the main, when refusing would disrupt the entire evening. At Heliopath Labs, where I served as operations manager and co-founder, I'd built something extraordinary, a risk analysis algorithm that could predict market volatility with 87% accuracy. My business partners knew, our investors knew, but Derek's family. They still introduced me as Derek's wife who has a little computer job. The microaggressions accumulated like compound interest. Marjorie would accidentally forget to invite me to family investment meetings, then apologize with practiced sincerity. She'd mention how Derek's ex-girlfriend, now a senator's wife, understood portfolio diversification instinctively. When I'd present data-driven financial strategies, she'd pat my hand and say, "How modern of you to try understanding these things." Derek noticed. Of course. He'd squeeze my shoulder afterward, promise things would improve once his mother adjusted to our different backgrounds. But adjustment, I learned, was my burden alone to carry. 3 months ago, I began documenting everything. Email chains where Marjorie instructed Derek to move my consulting bonuses into accounts she controlled. Text messages demanding I sign prenuptial agreements retroactively. Post-nuptial agreements. She called them. Standard family protection. Recording devices. Legal in Wisconsin's one-party consent law. Captured her suggestions that Derek should manage my Heliopath equity before it complicated family finances. What Marjorie didn't know, what none of them knew, was that I'd been negotiating the sale of my algorithm module to Vistara Quant Systems. $68 million total, $41 million after taxes and legal structuring, all protected in a spendthrift trust established with my attorney, Mira Devlin. The NDA was ironclad, the trust impenetrable. The Sloan family tradition of sharing resources would never touch this money. I'd grown up watching my mother surrender her nursing wages to my father's failed business ventures, witnessed her retirement evaporate into his poker debts. That generational trauma ended with me. Every patronizing smile from Marjorie, every suggestion to be more accommodating, every reminder that good wives share everything they only strengthened my resolve to protect what I'd built. The spinning metronome of Marjorie's voice still echoes. Family money stays in the family. Eva, surely someone from your background can appreciate the security we offer. Security. As if financial abuse wrapped in aristocratic vocabulary became something other than control. The post-nuptial agreement appeared on our kitchen counter on a Tuesday evening at 6:15 p.m., wrapped in a cream folder with the Sloan family crest embossed in gold. "Mother thinks it's prudent," Derek said, not meeting my eyes as he loosened his Hermes tie. With your company growing and my position at Arden Ridge advancing, we should formalize things." I read through the 16 pages while he fidgeted with his cufflinks. Every clause funneled assets towards something called the Sloan Family Trust, my future earnings, any intellectual property I developed, even inheritances I might receive, all would require family approval for major decisions. "This essentially gives your mother control over everything I earn," I said, keeping my voice steady. "That's not how she explained it." Derek's jaw tightened. "It's about protecting our future children's legacy." "We don't have children." "Derek." "Yet." He finally looked at me. "Mom says financial clarity prevents problems later." I set the folder down carefully. "I need to review this with my attorney." The temperature in the room dropped. Derek's expression, usually so warm, hardened into something I recognized from Marjorie's face during her lessons about proper wives. "You need an attorney to trust your husband's family." That night, I discovered the first unauthorized transaction, a supplementary credit card in my name, issued through Arden Ridge Advisors, with charges totaling $12,000, restaurant bills from the Sterling Room, where Marjorie held her book club, a $4,000 charge at Bergmont Jewelers, a birthday gift for Derek's cousin, apparently purchased with my credit. "Standard family sharing," Marjorie explained when I called her at 11:45 p.m. "Derek has signing authority on your accounts." Naturally, didn't he mention? He hadn't. But when I confronted him, Derek's defense came rehearsed. "It's easier for tax purposes. Mom's accountant handles everything." The next morning, I met Mira Devlin at her office downtown. She listened to my story without interrupting, occasionally noting something in her legal pad. When I finished, she leaned back, fingers steepled. "Start documenting everything. Every transaction, every conversation, every document they ask you to sign." She slid a business card across her desk. "This is a forensic accountant. Have them review your finances going back 6 years. Is it that serious? Mrs. Hartley, what you're describing is financial abuse with a sophisticated veneer. The unauthorized credit cards alone constitute identity fraud." That afternoon, I placed credit freezes with all 3 bureaus and filed fraud alerts with our banks. When Derek came home, his phone was already ringing. Marjorie's voice shrieked through the speaker loud enough for me to hear from the living room. "She's locked you out. Your own wife doesn't trust you with family finances." Derek found me in my home office. His face flushed. "You embarrassed my mother with the banks. They called her about suspicious activity." "The suspicious activity was her using my credit without authorization." "It's not like that." He ran his hands through his hair. "You don't understand how families like ours operate." "Then explain it to me." He sat on the edge of my desk, the gesture intimate despite our tension. "Mom's trying to protect us. She's seen too many marriages destroyed by financial disagreements. If we just follow her system." "Her system is illegal. Derek, you're overreacting." "Am I?" I pulled up the credit card statements on my screen. "Did you know about these charges?" His silence was answer enough. "I love you," I said quietly. "But I won't be controlled by your mother. Either we handle our finances as equal partners, or we need to reconsider this marriage." Derek stood abruptly. "Don't threaten me. Eva, Mom warned me you might." He stopped himself. "Might what?" "Show your true colors once you felt financially secure." The words hung between us like a blade. After 6 years, I finally understood I wasn't his wife. I was an acquisition Marjorie hadn't approved, an asset she couldn't quite control. That night, Derek slept in the guest room. I stayed awake until 3:20 a.m., transferring documents to encrypted drives, scheduling meetings with financial advisors, and preparing for a war I'd never wanted but could no longer avoid. The Vistara Quant Systems deal began with a phone call at 4:30 a.m. on a Thursday. I'd been awake anyway. running final simulations on the risk analysis module when my secure phone, the one I'd purchased specifically for Heliopath business, buzzed. Ms. Hartley, this is Nathan Cross from Vistara. We've been monitoring your algorithm's performance. We'd like to discuss an acquisition. For 6 weeks, I became a ghost in my own home. Every morning at 5 a.m., I'd leave for early meetings that were actually conference calls with Vistara's legal team. Lunch hours meant reviewing contracts in my car. Evening gym sessions were sessions with Mira Devlin, structuring the most bulletproof spendthrift trust she'd ever designed. The beauty of this trust, Mira explained during one late-night meeting, is that even you can't access the principal freely. It's protected from creditors, lawsuits, and most importantly, from marital claims that might arise. Derek doesn't even know about the deal. Good. Wisconsin is a marital property state, but assets placed in a properly structured trust before disclosure are separate property. The timing is critical. The NDA with Vistara was comprehensive. Even my Heliopath partners only knew about a potential opportunity. I created layers of protection, a new LLC for consulting work, a separate bank account at a credit union the Sloans didn't use, a safety deposit box for physical documents. Every precaution felt paranoid until I remembered Marjorie's words, "Family money stays in the family." Meanwhile, the domestic theater continued. Derek emerged from the guest room after 3 days, apologizing with flowers and promises to handle his mother. But I noticed he'd installed a banking app on his phone that tracked our joint accounts. When I changed my Heliopath direct deposit to a personal account, he noticed within hours. "Why are you hiding money from me?" he demanded over dinner. "I'm not hiding anything. I'm protecting my business assets from your mother's interference. She's trying to help us. She's trying to control us. There's a difference." The deal negotiations intensified. Vistara offered $40 million, then $55, finally settling at $68 million for my module and a 2-year consulting contract. After taxes, legal fees, and trust structuring, $41 million would be mine, untouchable, protected, invisible to the Sloan family radar. I signed the papers in Mira's office at 11:59 p.m. on a Friday, my hand steady despite the magnitude. The funds would transfer in stages, the first installment hitting the trust account within 72 hours. "How does it feel?" Mira asked, notarizing the final document. "Like I'm wearing armor for the first time in 6 years. That weekend, Marjorie invited us for brunch. She'd prepared a presentation, actual slides on her dining room television about family financial optimization. Chart after chart showed how centralizing assets under the Sloan Trust would benefit everyone. Derek nodded along, occasionally glancing at me with apologetic eyes that changed nothing. "Eva," Marjorie said, laser pointer in hand, "your little technology venture could really flourish with proper oversight. I've spoken with Derek's colleagues at Arden Ridge. They're willing to manage your company's assets." "That's unnecessary," I replied calmly. "Nonsense. Your family. We protect our own." "From what, exactly?" Her smile tightened. "From making emotional decisions that could impact generational wealth." I smiled back, like signing away my rights to my own earnings. The room went silent. Derek shifted uncomfortably. Marjorie set down her laser pointer with deliberate control. "I see you're not ready for adult financial planning. Perhaps when you mature—" "I'm 34 years old with a successful company. I don't need your protection. Everyone needs protection, dear, even from themselves." That night, I installed security cameras in our home, completely legal in common areas. I backed up every financial document to 3 separate cloud services. I recorded every conversation where money was mentioned, building an archive that would soon prove invaluable. Derek found me organizing files at 2:15 a.m. "What are you doing?" "Protecting myself. From my mother. From anyone who thinks my success is their opportunity." He stood in the doorway, silhouetted against the hall light. "She means well, Eva." "No," I said, not looking up from my screen. "She means to win. There's a difference." The first wire transfer hit my trust account the following Monday. $41 million. Safety, freedom, power. Everything the Sloan family had tried to take, now beyond their reach. The Ironworks Conservatory glowed with string lights and calculated elegance, every detail of our anniversary party curated by Marjorie's event planner. 600 guests filled the restored industrial space, a who's who of Madison's financial elite mixed with heliopath investors I hadn't expected to see. "Surprise," Derek whispered, kissing my cheek as we entered at 7:30 p.m. Mom wanted to celebrate properly. I wore the black Valentino dress Marjorie had selected, my rebellion limited to the emerald earrings my grandmother left me, the only jewelry the Sloanes hadn't purchased. Derek's hand rested possessively on my lower back as we made our rounds, his smile never wavering even when mine felt frozen. By 9:45 p.m., Marjorie took the microphone. The room quieted with practiced efficiency. Champagne flutes raised in anticipation. She stood beneath the spotlight like a conductor preparing her orchestra, her silver hair gleaming, her smile sharp as crystal. "6 years ago," she began, "my son brought home a woman we didn't quite know what to do with." Polite laughter rippled through the crowd. I felt Derek's hand tighten on mine. Eva came from modest beginnings, no family connections, no understanding of how our world operates, but we welcomed her anyway, hoping love would be enough. The words dripped with false sympathy. I saw several investors from Heliopath exchange glances. "Unfortunately," Marjorie continued, her voice carrying perfectly through the space, "some people can't rise above their origins. Despite our guidance, our resources, our patience, Ava has remained difficult, secretive, unwilling to embrace family traditions." "Mom," Derek whispered, but she wasn't finished. "She refuses to provide grandchildren, claiming her career takes precedence. She hides money in private accounts. She treats family financial planning as suspicious, and now she's threatened to leave if we don't abandon the very structures that built our success." The room had gone silent except for the sound of my heart pounding. Marjorie turned to Derek, her expression softening into manufactured concern. "Son, I say this publicly because interventions haven't worked privately. You deserve better. You deserve a partner who understands sacrifice, family, legacy. I think no. I know it's time to consider divorce." Gasps echoed through the conservatory. Someone dropped a glass. Derek stood frozen beside me, his face pale. 600 people waited for someone to speak. I stepped forward, gently taking the microphone from Marjorie's manicured hand. "Thank you, Marjorie, for that illuminating speech." My voice rang clear and steady. "Since we're sharing family truths tonight, I have a few of my own." I pulled out my phone, connecting it to the venue's AV system with 3 taps. The presentation I'd prepared just in case filled the massive screens around the room. "Let's discuss family financial planning." The first slide showed a bank statement. "This is a credit card opened in my name without my knowledge. $12,000 in charges for Marjorie's personal expenses." The crowd murmured. Marjorie's smile faltered. "Here's an email from 3 months ago." I read aloud, "Derek, make sure Eva signs the post-nuptial agreement. If she resists, remind her that cooperation ensures her little company stays afloat." "Mom," Derek grabbed my arm. "Eva, stop." I pulled free, advancing to the next slide, a recorded conversation, the audio filling the space Marjorie's voice. "That woman will never be good enough for you. But if you must stay married, at least ensure her assets transfer to our trust. The working class always needs guidance managing money." The room erupted. Phones appeared, recording everything. Several Heliopath investors moved closer to the stage. "But here's my favorite part," I said, my voice cutting through the chaos. While Marjorie was planning this character assassination, while Derek was installing tracking apps on my phone, while this family was plotting to control my every financial move, I was closing a deal. I clicked to the final slide, a single number. $41 million. The conservatory went silent. The sale of my algorithm to Vistara Quant Systems, completed 6 days ago, protected in an irrevocable trust that no post-nuptial agreement, no family tradition, no manipulation can touch. Marjorie's face had turned the color of expensive ash. Derek stumbled backward, gripping a chair for support. "So, thank you, Marjorie," I said, setting down the microphone with deliberate calm, "for suggesting divorce. Your son deserves someone who fits your family, and I deserve freedom from it." I walked through the stunned crowd, my heels clicking against the polished concrete, each step lighter than the last. Behind me, 600 witnesses to the Sloan family's unraveling began to buzz with the kind of gossip that would destroy reputations by morning. At exactly 10:15 p.m., I left my marriage anniversary party, alone, victorious, finally free. The conservatory's private room smelled of leather and old money, a space Marjorie had reserved for family discussions. She'd intercepted me before I could reach the exit, her grip on my elbow surprisingly strong for a woman who claimed physical labor was beneath her station. "We need to talk," she'd hissed. "Now." Derek followed us like a beaten dog, his face still pale from the public humiliation. The door clicked shut at 10:20 p.m., sealing us in with 2 leather chairs and a century of Sloan family portraits judging from the walls. I activated my phone's recording app openly, placing it on the table between us. "That's unnecessary," Marjorie said, her composure partially restored. "My lawyer disagrees." She straightened her spine, shifting from wounded matriarch to corporate negotiator in seconds. $41 million is substantial, but wealth without family structure becomes chaos. You need us. I need you to explain why you committed identity fraud with my credit cards. Don't be dramatic. Family members share resources. Without consent, Derek finally spoke. "Ava, please, we can work this out privately." Like we worked out the post-nuptial agreement privately, the one your mother called non-negotiable in her texts to you. Marjorie's mask slipped. "You went through his phone. He left it open on the counter. Apparently, I'm the problem that needs solving according to your Tuesday evening conversations." The older woman leaned forward, her voice dropping to a whisper that carried more menace than any shout. "You think you've won, that money will destroy you. You don't have the breeding to manage it properly." Breeding. I laughed, the sound sharp in the closed space. "This isn't a kennel, Marjorie." Her face flushed. "I'm offering you a solution. Transfer half to the Sloan Family Trust voluntarily. We'll manage it, ensure it grows, protect you from yourself. In return, this marriage continues, and your reputation remains intact." My reputation. I have connections at every major firm in Madison, every investment group, every bank. One word from me and your little technology company becomes untouchable. I pulled out the legal memorandum Mira had prepared, sliding it across the table. "This details the trust structure, irrevocable, protected, untouchable. Any attempt to coerce, threaten, or manipulate access to these funds constitutes extortion." Marjorie didn't touch the document. "You've thought of everything, haven't you? I learned from watching you." "Derek," she turned to her son, "your wife is threatening our family's stability. The prenuptial agreement you signed—" "We didn't sign a prenuptial agreement," Derek said quietly. "The documents you signed at our lawyer's office before the wedding were witnesses' statements for your cousin's estate planning." His voice grew stronger. "You told me they were routine forms." The silence stretched between them. I watched Derek's face transform as understanding dawned. "You tried to trick me into a prenup." Marjorie's composure cracked completely. "I was protecting you. Look at her. She planned this extraction from the beginning, the secret deal, the hidden money, the recordings. She's exactly what I warned you about." "No," Derek said slowly. "She's exactly what you created. Every manipulation, every control tactic you taught her to protect herself from us." "From me?" You mean? Marjorie spat. You're too weak to see what she is. I see what you are, he replied. She stood abruptly, her chair scraping against the floor. If you side with her, you're out of the trust, no inheritance, no position at Arden Ridge. Nothing. Derek looked at me, then back at his mother. Eva's worth $41 million. I think we'll manage. The threat hung in the air like a blade. I stood, collecting my phone and documents. Actually, Derek, the $41 million is mine alone. The trust is structured to exclude marital claims. I faced Marjorie one last time. But here's what's going to happen. You'll return every penny charged to my accounts. You'll cease all contact with my business associates, and you'll sign a document acknowledging the fraudulent charges, with a liquidated damages clause if you violate these terms. Or our 600-party guests receive the full recording of this conversation, where you just admitted to fraud, extortion, and document forgery. Her face went white. Outside the door, voices grew louder, guests wondering about the drama, probably recording everything they could hear. You destroyed my family, she whispered. No, Marjorie. Your family was always broken. I just turned on the lights. I left them there at 10:45 p.m., mother and son facing the wreckage of their relationship. The conservatory's main room still buzzed with speculation as I passed through, heads turning, phones lifting. By the time I reached my car, 3 heliopath investors had texted support, 4 journalists had requested comments, and 1 message from Mira simply read, "Masterfully done." The 72-hour campaign began at midnight. Hour 0 to 24. I drove straight from the conservatory to Harbor Lofts, the furnished apartment I'd leased through my trust 2 weeks earlier. Everything I truly valued: grandmother's jewelry, essential documents. My backup drives already waited in the bedroom safe. Derek called 17 times before 6 a.m. I didn't answer. At 7:15 a.m., I sat in Mira's office with a forensic accountant and a private investigator, executing a financial evacuation with military precision. Cancel all joint credit cards immediately, Mira directed, her paralegal taking notes. File fraud disputes for the unauthorized charges. Change every password, every security question, every PIN. The accountant pulled up screens of data. The supplementary cards in your name show $87,000 in total charges over 3 years, all traceable to Marjorie's purchases or Derek's client entertainment. Document everything, I said. Every receipt, every signature. By noon, I'd removed Derek as beneficiary on my life insurance, retirement accounts, and heliopath equity. The bank manager at Madison Financial personally handled the account separations, her expression carefully neutral as she processed the removal of Sloan family members from my finances. These changes are effective immediately, Mrs. Hartley. Ms. Hartley, I corrected. I'm reclaiming my maiden name. Hour 24 to 48. The legal filing happened at 9 a.m. sharp. Petition for legal separation. Not divorce yet. Mira's strategy was surgical: establish financial boundaries first, document Derek's response, then proceed based on his cooperation or resistance. The separation includes an automatic temporary restraining order on financial assets, Mira explained. Neither party can dispose of major property, empty accounts, or incur significant debt. The filing included 60 pages of evidence: unauthorized credit cards, coerced financial documents, recorded conversations about asset manipulation. We requested exclusive use of the Harbor Lofts apartment and a formal accounting of all marital assets. Derek was served at Arden Ridge at 2:30 p.m. His colleague later told me he'd left immediately, his face gray as winter lake ice. That evening, I sent a litigation hold notice to Arden Ridge Advisors, the Sloan Family Trust, and 3 financial institutions Marjorie controlled. Any destruction of documents related to my finances would constitute spoliation of evidence. Marjorie's attorney called at 9:45 p.m. Your client is destroying a family, he said. Your client destroyed herself. Mira responded, We're just documenting it. Hour 48 to 72. the announcement went live at Heliopath's Monday morning meeting. I stood before our team of 47 engineers and analysts, my voice steady despite the exhaustion. As you may have heard through various channels, I've recently completed the sale of our risk analysis module to Vistara. I want to assure everyone that I remain committed to Heliopath's mission and growth. Applause filled the conference room. Then I continued. I'm also establishing the Midwest Women in Technology Fund with an initial donation of $1 million. This will provide scholarships and mentorship for women entering STEM fields, particularly those from non-traditional backgrounds. The press release went out at noon, carefully crafted to control the narrative. Heliopath executive establishes $1 million STEM scholarship following successful algorithm sale. No mention of divorce, family drama, or the Sloan name. Just success, generosity, and forward momentum by 3 p.m. My inbox flooded with congratulations from investors, colleagues, and, interestingly, several members of Madison's social elite who'd attended the anniversary party. The subject lines varied, but the subtext was clear they'd chosen their side. Derek appeared at Harbor Lofts at 6:20 p.m., security calling up for permission. 5 minutes, I told them. He looked destroyed, unshaven, wrinkled shirt, eyes red-rimmed, the golden boy reduced to tarnished brass. The trust seized my accounts, he said without preamble. Mother says I betrayed the family. You betrayed me first. I know. He sat heavily on the lobby bench. I found more documents, emails between Mom and the lawyers, plans to force you into bankruptcy if you didn't sign the postnup, strategies to claim your algorithm as marital property developed with family resources. Send them to my lawyer. Already did. He looked up. Ava, I'm sorry. I was weak. You were complicit. Yes. The honesty surprised me. What do you want, Derek? To know if there's any chance. No. He nodded, standing slowly. The scholarship fund is generous. Mom's having a meltdown about the positive press you're getting. That's not my concern anymore. No, he agreed, walking toward the door. I suppose it's not. At exactly 72 hours from leaving the conservatory, I sat in my Harbor Lofts apartment, watching the sunset over Lake Mendota. My phone showed 43 messages from Marjorie, all unread and archived. My new life had officially begun. The Madison County Courthouse's family division occupied the 3rd floor, its hallways lined with couples in various stages of dissolution. At 9 a.m. sharp, I entered courtroom 7 wearing a navy suit that meant business, Mira at my side with 2 paralegals wheeling boxes of evidence. Across the aisle, Derek sat diminished between his mother and their legal team, 3 attorneys from Hammond and Associates, Madison's most aggressive family law firm. Marjorie wore Chanel like armor, her face a mask of controlled fury. Judge Patricia Hoffman, known for her intolerance of financial manipulation, reviewed the preliminary documents with sharp eyes. Ms. Devlin, she began, your client is requesting validation of a separate property trust containing $41 million, plus damages for financial fraud. That's substantial. Mira stood. Your Honor, we'll demonstrate that Ms. Hartley's trust was established with separate funds from a business transaction completed before any disclosure to the responding party. Furthermore, we have evidence of systematic financial abuse that necessitates protective orders. Proceed. The first exhibit trust documentation showing the irrevocable structure, funded before Derek knew of the Vistara deal. The second, a timeline of unauthorized credit accounts. The third, recorded conversations where Marjorie explicitly discussed capturing Eva's assets for the family. Hammond's lead attorney, Richard Strauss, objected. Your Honor, Wisconsin is a marital property state. Any assets accumulated during marriage are marital property unless explicitly exempted. Judge Hoffman finished. Continue. Ms. Devlin. Mira presented the forensic accountant's report. Over 3 years, the Sloan family extracted approximately $130,000 through unauthorized credit cards, fraudulent signatures, and coerced financial documents. Ms. Hartley's separate property trust was specifically structured to prevent such continued abuse. That's defamation, Marjorie hissed, loud enough for the court reporter to pause. Mrs. Sloan, Judge Hoffman's voice cut like ice. You're not a party to this divorce. One more outburst and you'll be removed. Mira played the recording from the anniversary party's private room. Marjorie's voice filled the courtroom. Transfer half to the Sloan Family Trust voluntarily, or I'll ensure your company becomes untouchable in Madison. The judge's expression darkened. That sounds like extortion. Counselor! Strauss scrambled. My client's mother was emotionally distraught. Your client's mother committed potential crimes. Judge Hoffman interrupted. Continue, Ms. Devlin. The evidence-mounted emails where Derek discussed managing my assets before I knew about them, bank statements showing mysterious transfers, documents with forged signatures. Each piece methodically destroyed the Sloan family's claim to my trust. Then Strauss played his card. Your Honor, we have evidence that Ms. Hartley hid assets during the marriage. This secret deal, conducted without her husband's knowledge, was a business transaction involving her separate intellectual property, Mira countered. Mr. Sloan had no involvement in developing the algorithm, no investment in the company beyond his wife's efforts, and no legal claim to its sale proceeds. Derek was called to testify. He looked smaller on the stand. His usual confidence evaporated. Mr. Sloan, Mira began, did you contribute any funds, labor, or intellectual property to the development of your wife's algorithm? No. Did you invest marital funds in Heliopath Labs? No. Did your wife ever agree to share her business assets with your family trust? A pause. Marjorie's stare burned from the gallery. No, she refused every request. Request, Mira's voice sharpened. Or demand, objection. Strauss called. I'll rephrase. Mr. Sloan, this email from your mother states, make sure Eva signs. Use whatever pressure necessary. Did you follow that instruction? Derek's shoulders sagged. Yes. The courtroom stirred. Marjorie's carefully maintained composure cracked, her whisper to Strauss urgent and harsh. Judge Hoffman had heard enough. I'm prepared to issue a temporary ruling. The $41 million trust is validated as Ms. Hartley's separate property, protected from marital claims. Mr. Sloan will immediately cease any attempts to access these funds. Your Honor. Strauss began. Furthermore, the judge continued, I'm referring the matter of financial fraud to the district attorney's office. Mrs. Sloan, consider yourself under investigation. Marjorie stood abruptly, her exit dramatic until she reached the door and found 2 police officers waiting with questions. As for marital assets, Judge Hoffman continued, Mr. Sloan will repay all fraudulent charges made in Ms. Hartley's name, with interest. He will also forfeit any claim to Ms. Hartley's Heliopath equity as compensation for financial abuse. Derek didn't protest. He seemed almost relieved, as if the judge had freed him from more than just our marriage. After the ruling, I stood outside in the soft Madison rain, breathing deeply for the first time in months. Mira joined me, umbrella in hand. Total victory, she said. No, I replied, watching Derek help his mother into a car, both of them diminished. Just freedom. The Midwestern Tech Hall buzzed with 300 attendees at the Scholarship Fund's inaugural ceremony. 6 months had passed since the courtroom victory, and I'd spent them building something that mattered. Young women from Wisconsin, Illinois, and Minnesota filled the auditorium, their faces bright with possibility. At 2 p.m., I took the stage, the weight of the microphone familiar now, but this time, I held it by choice. 6 months ago, someone told me I didn't understand family legacy. I began. They were right. I didn't understand their version, one built on control, manipulation, and the silencing of voices that didn't conform. Behind me, 3 slides appeared on the screen. The first showed patterns without names, financial control tactics, isolation techniques, gaslighting through family tradition. The data came from my experience but could have belonged to thousands of women trapped in similar situations. These patterns aren't unique to one family. They're systemic, generational, taught and retaught until victims believe they're protecting themselves by surrendering. The second slide displayed resources, legal aid numbers, financial abuse hotlines, step-by-step guides for protecting assets and documenting abuse. Everything I'd wished I'd known 3 years earlier. Knowledge is power, but only if it's accessible. Every scholarship recipient today will also receive financial literacy training, legal education, and most importantly, the understanding that their success belongs to them alone. The third slide showed the microphone from that anniversary night, golden under the conservatory lights. This was the moment I reclaimed my voice. Not because I had $41 million, but because I finally understood that no amount of money could purchase my silence. The audience erupted in applause. As it died down, I noticed movement near the entrance. Derek and Marjorie stood in the doorway, holding protest signs that read, "Built on Lies" and "Family Destroyer." Security moved toward them, but I raised my hand. Let them stay. Transparency includes showing what resistance looks like. The crowd turned, phones raising to record the Sloanes' last stand. But something unexpected happened. They looked small. Marjorie's designer suit couldn't hide her diminished presence. Derek's sign trembled in his hands. "Mrs. Sloane," I said into the microphone, my voice carrying across the hall. "You taught me everything I needed to know about protecting myself. For that, I'm genuinely grateful." Her face contorted, but before she could respond, security arrived with court papers. The restraining order violation would cost them more than pride. As they were escorted out, I turned back to my audience, these young women who would never have to learn the lessons I did through pain. "The real revenge isn't the money," I continued. "It's not the legal victories or the public vindication. It's this building something they can't touch, creating opportunities they can't control, and inspiring voices they can't silence." The ceremony continued with scholarship presentations, each recipient sharing their dreams for technology careers. By 4:30 p.m., the event concluded with a surprise announcement: Vistara Quant Systems would match my donation, doubling the fund's impact. That evening, Mira met me for champagne at Harbor Lofts. The divorce had been finalized that morning. Derek hadn't contested anything after the criminal charges against Marjorie made headlines. He'd moved to Seattle, taking a junior position at a firm with no Sloane connections. "Any regrets?" Mira asked. I considered the question, looking out at Lake Mendota's calm surface. "I regret that it took me 6 years to see the truth, but I don't regret the ending." "Even Derek?" "Especially Derek. He was a symptom, not the disease." My phone buzzed with a message from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, then noticed the area code Seattle. "Thank you for not destroying me completely. I know you could have. I'm getting help. Real help. Maybe someday I'll deserve the grace you showed. D." I deleted the message but kept the lesson. Power isn't about destroying those who hurt you, it's about building something they never could. The next morning's news carried the story. Tech executives' scholarship fund exceeds $5 million after corporate matching. Below the headline, a photo showed me at the podium, microphone in hand, 300 young women standing in ovation. Marjorie would see it, of course. She'd rage about the unfairness, the betrayal, the destruction of family values. But Derek was right about one thing: she'd created this ending herself, one controlling gesture at a time. I kept the photo on my desk at Heliopath, a reminder that the best revenge isn't served cold. It's served through a microphone, to an audience ready to hear the truth, with $41 million of protection ensuring no one can silence you again. I won because I finally became the person who decides my own life. Thank you for listening to my story. I'd love to know where you're listening from. Please share in the comments below so we can connect. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and share your own thoughts about standing up to financial manipulation and family control. Your voice matters too.